I'm here to tell you that you have unfinished business with me. Metroixer's Let's Play is 9 years old now. There's been so many breakthroughs and new discoveries in that time. You of all people should know this. It's time to stop playing dumb, sticking to the old story, and give the people a modern showcase of what I can really do.
No!
Don't you agree?
No! What the what have I been doing?
I want to establish some things before we get into the showcase proper. This shouldn't take long, but if you want to skip this, just refer to the timecode in the description. First off, this is by no means a definitive showcase. To cover every glitch in this game would be a Sisyphean task. Metroixer covered a lot of stuff in the original LP, but even then, he only scratched the surface. And to reiterate what's been stated before, that LP was 10 years ago. People know so much more about these games and their quirks, it's almost scary. Which leads me to my next point. Gen 1 Pokemon is a science, and I'm not a scientist. Users of the Glitch City forums have this game figured out on a molecular level at this point. A lot of these bugs require incredible knowledge about not just the game itself, but concepts such as arbitrary code execution. It's out of my depth. These things, however, aren't out of the depth of people like TheZZAZZGlitch and ChickasaurusGL. They have incredible channels full of glitches like the ones seen in this LP and more. If you want to see even more glitches, then I highly recommend checking them out as well. Just make sure it's after you finish this video. Finally, this is all original material from here on out. No more of this confusing, where does Metroixer's writing end and Tectonic's begin conundrum. So if you think this sucks, blame it all on me, pal. Let's get started. Starting up Pokemon Blue again for the first time in a year gave me a strange feeling. Like I never stopped doing this series. It's a little more complex than that, though. This might sound a little overdramatic, but screwing around with these glitches for so long has made me develop a small pit in my stomach over this game. I'm not joking. I'm sure you could tell from the wall breaks I did throughout the LP, but recreating a lot of the bugs Met showed off proved to be easier said than done a lot of the time. Technical difficulties were aplenty, and now I'm at the point where I'm irrationally worried this game will fall apart on me at any moment. Which is irrational, because as much as people like the joke, a majority of the glitches in this game you actively have to seek out. It's not like this game randomly crashes at will. This is a personal problem. These glitches have invaded my psyche. I feel like I'm held together by duct tape and hope. And if I take one wrong step, I'll be the one to crash. Okay, that last part was a joke, I'm fine. But the constant behind-the-scenes tinkering was definitely annoying and the main reason why this took so long to come out. But you're watching this now, so I must have gotten over that issue, right? Let's start things off with a bug called Amazing Man. Pretty eye-catching name, right? Not only that, but it's a glitch pretty much anyone can do with next to no effort, so try it out. By talking to several NPCs in the game while standing on specific tiles, you can make a duplicate NPC appear while the text box is open. Watch as these characters stand in the absolute strangest of places. Amazing, huh? Not impressed? Okay, fair enough. I guess we could be a little flashier. Okay, how about this? We're going to need to head to the Seafoam Islands and require the use of the Rivals item that we saw back in episode 13 of the LP. Fun fact, this is the first time we've ever actually explored the Seafoam Islands. Met completely skipped them over. Guess you didn't know about this upcoming trick. So anyone who's played Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee will know that the water current on the third basement floor is too strong to surf on, unless you complete a rock puzzle using the HM Strength. Well, if you stand in this specific corner and activate Rivals to create the pseudo walk through walls ability, you can not only walk on the water without surfing, but heading into the next area will get Red stuck in the area where you get sped up by the current. Nothing? If your defense stat is raised to 1024 via Reflect, any physical attack will soft lock the game. Yeah, I know. These glitches are kind of lame. At least compared to the stuff Met showed off. Alright. I've been stalling long enough. Let's do this. First things first, though. Tech's in charge now. Or rather, Tech, space. I wish I knew how to fix that, but it doesn't seem possible. Sadly, the character limit is 7 and not 8. Tectonic would just look silly. Besides, Met, Tech, they're both 3 letters. Now, let's get this party started with a little visit to Articuno. We're here after all, might as well say hello. Ah, Brock. Fancy meeting you here in the Seafoam Islands. Hey, you don't happen to have an Articuno hiding behind you or something, do you? I swear I just saw one here. So obviously that isn't a Butterfree, it's the first of our new Pokegods. This one has the creative name of A on the Glitch City Wiki, but since there's like 5 other glitches with that name, we're going to call this one A long name, since its name has a text box long break accompanied with the 1 character. It's not as bad as that one Pokegod Bruno had, but it's enough to be memorable. There's only so many Pokegods left, and a lot of the ones Met didn't cover, he didn't for a reason. Many of them are either boring clones of actual Pokemon or crash the game on encounter. This one in particular is actually nearly identical to our old friend Point 4, so sorry, we're starting off kind of small here, but we'll make it a little more interesting. Oh, and one more thing. The remaining Pokegods are all trapped behind trainer encounters like this. These are similar to Blocky in that regard, if you remember him. Oh, who am I kidding? Who could forget Blocky? No, wait, stop! And we're back, folks! Getting back to the program, it's time to power level this son of a bitch. The only real difference between Point 4 and A long name are their move pools. Point 4 is memorable for straight up learning Surf naturally, which is cool. A long name, on the other hand, learns a couple of the Glitch TM moves, one of which is the old classic TM28. You know, the one that blows up your Pokemon, deals okay damage, and misses half the time. The other move is TM55, and this one might just be the funniest TM move in the game. Not only is it impossible to use in battle, but if you could somehow pull it off, all it would do is skip the next turn. Conceptually, I find that hilarious. It really puts a bow on top of all these shitty TM moves. Unfortunately, it doesn't really make for entertaining media, so I suppose it's time to resort to the jingle keys of Generation 1 Pokemon glitches. Oh yeah, we're going there. Looks like Psyduck will be the one to face the music. Sorry I had to go like this, dude. Hey, while we're at it, don't you guys think it's weird that despite being a golden color, it's Psyduck's evolution that has... Psyduck is a... What? I need answers, game, tell me. Fine, crash on me. See if I care. Let's try seeing the effects of this super glitch outside of battle. I'm gonna teach A long name a TM to overwrite the super glitch, which is intended to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only do we rid ourselves of one of the most unpredictable glitches in the game, but we also get to see some cool side effects from it. Nothing seems different so never mind. Maybe if I... Nope, it's staying like that. Looking at the Pokemon menu soft locks the game, but you know I'm not going to leave it on this. Let's try exploring a little. There we go, that's more like it. Every time the poison status, which I inexplicably have, flashes, we get a new remix of Cinnabar Island. I can't pinpoint the first and third remixes, but the second one is definitely Celadon City pitched up. The fourth one is Viridian City, among other locations. Unlike the other mixes though, the Viridian theme is slightly off from the main Cinnabar melody and actually kinda hurts my head to listen to. Another quirk with the Super Glitch is its ability to create boundaries out of nowhere. And now something called the Triple S Club has fainted. Oh no, sir. Our research has expanded far beyond the Pokemon Mansion. All of Kanto is like my petri dish. Let's try and finish this off with a visit to the Pokemon Center. These usually go well.
Well, I don't know what I expected.
Alright, I think that was good enough. Never can be too sure with these Super Glitch moves, so it being removed from A long name's repertoire will help me sleep better at night. In an effort to make this special episode feel more like my creation, I've decided to retire the team of Pokemon Met used for his LP, and send them to the Safari Zone up north. And by that I mean they're gonna go in the box. Now I can't just ditch all of the Pokemon besides A long name right away. I need most of these guys for their HM moves, especially Mew with Fly. You could argue I don't really need any other HM since I can just walk through walls at will, and to that I ask, do you want to show or not? Anyway, it just so happens that we can get a replacement flyer with our new name via the Missing No Glitch. Just a quick refresher. The Pokemon that you encounter with the Missing No Glitch are tied to the 3rd, 5th, and 7th characters in your avatar's name. Here's a breakdown on which character gives you which Pokemon. My current name will allow me to catch this special little tongue out of cheek Pokemon, Golbat, at a boosted level too. Although that won't last once it sees battle. Still neat to see while we have it. To those crying foul that Golbat isn't a glitch Pokemon and therefore I can't use it, remember that Met used plenty of legit Pokemon throughout the LP. I think we should be allowed to use this one. Fine. Whatever. Golbat sucks anyway, we can do better. Out of the 3 birds, I think Zapdos is my favorite. I think it's because his name is so fun to say. Zapdos. Strong consonants in that name. Or maybe it's because out of the 3 birds, Zapdos has by far the coolest hideout. An abandoned power plant is a lot more inspired than an island cave or a mainland cave. I'd get into a mini rant about that, but now's not really the time. The power plant also started the tried and true Pokemon tradition of having the creatures disguise themselves as items on the ground. Most of the items aren't exactly tantalizing, but I made sure to pick up the Thunder TM at least before we left. Before we know it, this dungeon is over, which is another thing I appreciate about it. There's no welcome being overstayed here. Okay, I'm sure you guys can figure out what I'm doing here. Personally, I thought it'd be cooler if instead of just running into the new Pokegods randomly, we did it in place of the legendaries. I even came up with an in-universe explanation for this. So you know how Missing No is part bird type? Well, it's theorized that the bird type was intended for the legendary birds, so think of this like the trio revealing their true glitched forms. Hopefully Met won't mind this very important insertion into the official Let's Horribly Break Pokemon Blue canon. The Pokegod we've caught now is known as 94. From the remaining Pokegods we have left, I'm surprised Met never showed this one off. Out of all of them that don't crash the game upon encounter, or regular Pokemon for that matter, 94 has the highest base stat total with an incredible 715. Its lowest stat is its defense, coming in at a staggering 139. To put this into perspective, Mewtwo, the strongest regular Pokemon in the game, has a total of 590, with its highest base stat being 154. It's only 5 points behind Arceus, God of Pokemon, and Arceus has the benefit of the special stat being split into attack and defense. It has one more stat, and it's only slightly better. 94 is packing some serious fucking power, has a unique normal ghost typing, and best part about it all is it can learn Fly. And I don't see any wings on it. And all this stuff is great, but it does come at a strange cost. Sometimes when battling, 94 will just crash the game. Initially, I had no clue whatsoever why this would happen, but after a trip to Bulbapedia, I think I have the answer. 94's back sprite is inconsistent in that it'll change depending on the opposing Pokemon when it's sent out. Some Pokemon create a back sprite that can't be loaded properly by the game, which causes a crash. So for some Pokemon, 94 straight up can't be sent out against them. Of course, when I was recording this, I didn't know this only happened against specific Pokemon. I just assumed 94 was a powder keg, and every time I sent the thing out, I crossed my fingers hoping it didn't blow up the game. Considering 94's raw power though, I think we can live with this small hang-up. Think of it as a character flaw. Our team is finally starting to come together. We've got a flyer now, which is great, but I still at least need a Pokemon that can learn Surf, so that's next on the docket. I will say, this next Pokemon won't be a Pokegod, but one of the original 151. The method we'll be using to get this Pokemon will be pretty interesting though, so don't feel too let down. It's a spin on the old Mew trick, and will produce similar results. If you're at all familiar with Generation 1 Pokemon speedruns, you might know what I'm going to be doing, but I'm getting ahead of myself. First off, I'm going to deposit the entirety of my team and withdraw 2 members that haven't seen action in a long while. I'm taking Wordle and Fatty with me because they both have status moves, and I feel a little bad for them since they kinda got sidelined in the original LP. Fatty especially. I know he fucked up a bit, but that wasn't really his fault. He'll be good now, right? Fantastic. The Viridian Forest, then. Second thing we have to do is find a Pokemon that can inflict the poison status on us. Since we're already at the Viridian Forest, I figured I'd try and look for a Weedle. But what I quickly remembered is that Weedles are somewhat hard to come by since I'm playing on Pokemon Blue instead of Red. Thankfully, you can still run into them, and both my guys were poisoned soon enough. Next step, literally the next step, is to trigger an encounter on the same tile that has this bug catcher looking at it. Once we do that, we're going to black out in the encounter, which will activate a glitch called the Death Warp. Think of the Death Warp as a relative to the Mew glitch, as they're very similar, the only difference being how they're triggered. The Death Warp is useful when you don't have access to a flyer/teleporter, or you're in a location where those moves can't be used, such as the Viridian Forest. Speedrunners actually use this glitch in runs because it allows them to catch a Pokemon that can be brought to level 100 trivially before you even fight Brock. The issue with this method of the Trainer Escape glitch is because it relies on encountering a Pokemon in a specific spot, it's completely up to RNG when it'll work. All I can say is, thank fuck for save states. Once the party blacks out, the bug catcher sees us, but before he can do anything, we're back to Pewter. This was actually a slight mistake on my part. I should have rested at the Viridian City Pokemon Center as opposed to Pewter, since it's much more convenient for the remainder of the trick. Thankfully I have walked through walls. We're heading to Route 1 to find a Pidgey. This should be very easy to do, except literally every Rattata in the existence of Pokemon all joined forces to waste my goddamn time. It actually got so bad I decided to see what Pokemon I would get for using the data of Rattata as the last Pokemon encountered. Here's the answer. Not a Pokemon at all. Instead, it triggered the trainer battle with the bug catcher we flaked on. Interestingly enough though, we have to fight him twice before he leaves us alone, and even then, once we do that, he leaves us with one final gift. It looks like I'm barely moving, but I assure you I'm moving the D-pad in every direction possible. It's as if he trapped us in a genjutsu or something, like the game is only polling my inputs every couple of seconds. This strange effect did eventually fade though, and everything went back to normal. That was a neat little trick, but it sort of distracted us from the main goal here. Finally, I managed to run into a Pidgey, and before fainting it, I lowered its attack 6 stages. Sure, you can guess why. Once the Pidgey is beat, it's back to Viridian Forest to meet our next Pokemon. I think Nidoking is a fitting Pokemon to put on our team for this adventure. He's the poster child for speedruns of Pokemon Red and Blue, which are riddled with bugs. While he isn't Rhydon, a Pokemon we should all be very familiar with at this point, he does bear a striking resemblance. And finally, I need a Surfer and he'll do just fine. It only takes one encounter and Nidoking is brought up to the rest of the party, level 100. We'll be giving this guy a couple of TMs, and he'll be in fighting shape before we know it. Now all that's left is to give him the Surf HM. Oh yeah, Med never got Surf, did he? This is actually a happy little accident, since the next stop was going to be the Safari Zone anyway. The Safari Zone and its underbelly counterpart Glitch City are a cornucopia of interesting glitches. Trust me, Met didn't cover it all, not in the slightest. Before getting into the glitches, I will say, the step limit for the Safari Zone can be pretty harsh if you don't know what you're doing. One wrong turn and you won't have enough to make it to the house with the Surf HM, or the gold teeth for that matter. It actually took me 2 tries to grab it. What's everyone's opinion on the Safari Zone? When I was a kid I really liked it, since it had a lot of cool Pokemon. Nowadays, a part of me wishes you could just catch the Pokemon normally. Thankfully, surfing on the Cinnabar coast will let you do just that. And not to mention, if it wasn't for the Safari Zone, the glitches in this game wouldn't be nearly as fun. Much like with the Viridian Forest Death Warp, we need to get our Pokemon poisoned before we begin the Glitch City process. This is a little easier since we can find Pokemon that have poison powder right next to Fuchsia City. Now we can begin the regular steps to enter Glitch City. Once we've tricked the game into thinking we're in the Safari Zone, we're going to ride out the step counter next to this ledge right here, being very aware of our remaining steps. The reason for that last part is we're going to run out of steps at the same time we jump off the ledge. This will give us the ability to walk through walls without the use of a Game Shark, so this glitch can be performed without any cheat devices. One more thing, you want to make sure your Pokemon doesn't faint before the step counter runs out. Make sure you have a couple of potions around if you're worried they'll faint too early. Once the step counter is done, you should be sent back to the Safari Zone entrance. The lack of any music makes this feel much more foreboding than it should in my opinion. You're probably wondering what I'm walking around in circles for. After all, I do walk around for several minutes. Well, to explain that, I first need to talk about parallel universes. By walking around in this area, we can maintain our walk through walls ability while sidestepping any sort of disastrous glitch cities. When our Pokemon faints, we'll be sent to the last Pokemon Center we've rested at. For me, that's Viridian. But this should work in any area, so try out some others on your own. Now that we've conned the game into giving us walk through walls, we're going to access areas called Phantom Cities. Walking down to Cinnabar, we can walk past areas that would normally crash the game. Head to the left, and we'll eventually find some incomplete copies of Cinnabar. These copies don't let us enter any of the buildings, so it's all show. There's not much to see outside of that though, at least nothing you haven't already seen. This is cool and all, but we can do better. After we perform the glitch again, we're going to go to this specific position on the X-axis out of bounds. Any further will crash the game, so take note of this. If we keep heading down, we'll eventually make it to Pallet Town. While we're here, we can also answer the question asked way back in episode 1 of this LP. What Pokemon hide on the other side? Before, we couldn't see since it was out of bounds and would crash the game, but now the world is our oyster. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anything special. Sorry to hype you guys up, but I figured I'd be transparent on this one. Trust me, I was disappointed too. But don't worry, there's more interesting stuff to see. If we go a little further right, we'll find an exact replica of Pallet Town, albeit without any way to enter the buildings. So it turns out, not only were there lame Pokemon outside of Pallet Town, but there was another Pallet Town. And that's not the only one either. These continue for a while, but will crash the game if you go too far. Why this happens, I'm not sure. Perhaps it's due to the position we enter the route from that skirts the out-of-bounds crash in some way. But since the game doesn't have any map to give us, it just repeats the closest map in memory. Don't take that as anything more than conjecture though, I'm far from an expert on these games. In fact, I don't deserve the Mario 64 menu music, turn that off. Thank you. The Glitch City article doesn't illuminate much on how this works, which I find weird because this is one of the cooler bugs I've seen from this game. Something I did notice about these replicas is they each seem to be slightly higher the further you go. At first I thought I was seeing things, but it eventually became too blatant to ignore. Well, that's pretty much everything to this bug, but that's not all for the Safari Zone. There's one more thing I want to do here. So let's fly back and put a pin on that wonderful mess of a savannah. So we're going to do the first half of the Glitch City trick again, except this time we're going to head to the rock tunnel. The reason why will be apparent shortly. For now, let's just worry about running down this step counter. Oh, fuck, I forgot to use some repels. You gotta be careful about these caves, everyone. Never know when a gambler armed to the teeth with glitch abominations will appear over your shoulder. While we're here, I guess we might as well catch one of these things quickly. Astute viewers might remember this little sprite from Point 4, way back in episode 5. This isn't the only thing familiar about Pokemon 4 Pokemon. Let's not keep you in suspense though, here's the Glitch Dex entry. Pokemon for Pokemon is like if you sent Point 4 and A long name through Bill's teleporter at the same time and used the Pokemon that came out of it. Pokemon for Pokemon is A long name stats and TMHM Learn Set, while having Point 4's front sprite, back sprite, Pokedex number, and its type, Pokemaniac. You might be thinking then, well that sounds kind of boring, can we go back to the Glitch City stuff? And I was thinking the same thing, so let's not waste any more time, okay? One repel and a moment of holding the speed up button later, and the keening bell is sound. When we return though, we turn out the lights. Turns out by ending your safari in a place that requires flash, it will make the area dark for as long as you remain there. Going out into the Glitch City awaiting you or ending your safari normally will disable it, but in the meantime, isn't this cool? It's like a hacked together nighttime mode for the area. It's not like the rock tunnel either where you can barely see anything, it's all visible, just in silhouette. If this extended to Pokemon battles, or even let you do this all over Kanto, it'd be even better. But I'll take what I can get. This is all I have to show from the Safari Zone though. While I'm kinda sad to see it go since it gave us so much content, I do think it's fitting that we're concluding our Safari Zone content with it going dark. Good night, Safari Zone. Till we see you again. That last Pokemon was a letdown, so we're gonna pick ourselves up a more interesting one in a moment. Before that though, I figured we could check out these things known as Glitch Pokemon League maps. By inputting certain GameShark codes, we can be sent to these areas instead of the intended destination. This is kinda like that time in episode 5.5, where after finishing our battles with the TheZZAZZ clones, we were sent to these Glitch City areas. Unlike those though, these crash after taking only a few steps, which is kind of anticlimactic. We catch Derpity on one of these maps though. Well, at least I think that's Derpity, he disappears too quick to tell. For some reason he looked kinda off. I was hoping for something more from that, but sometimes the glitches are more vindictive than forgiving, and you just gotta roll with it. At the very least, we can go grab our next party member. They're waiting in Victory Road, the final of the 3 legendary birds, Moltres. They're pretty easy to get from this side, so I figured I'd take the scenic route, and, you know, while I have the time, I think I can give you guys that rant I teased way back when we were catching Zapdos. Moltres being inside of Victory Road really shortchanges the Pokemon. Both Articuno and Zapdos have fully fleshed out dungeons that are out of the way of the main quest. Meanwhile, Moltres is just tacked on at the end of this dungeon, 15 steps away from a trainer even. Just catch the thing. It's a legendary. I know it only has Peck and Fire Spin, but come on. This got rectified in the remakes, but even in those games it feels tacked on. Sorry for prattling on, but this has bothered me ever since I was a kid. Let's catch this thing and get out of here quickly. What the? Just an RPG? He's not riding on the back of Moltres this time though. Instead, he's got Pokemon T. A Pokemon which is at an unfortunately low level. It's not that big a deal, the only thing it really changes is how much time we have to devote to shoving candies down its throat, or whatever it uses to eat. The level disparity makes disposing of the Super Nerd's glitches trivial, and after fainting almost every single one of his Pokemon, the final one is ours to take. We were actually lucky that these things never got a chance to attack in the battle, since they have access to a Super Glitch move, as we can see right here. Compared to the last few Glitchmons we showed off, Pokemon T is looking quite lacking. It learns all the elemental punches and counter through level up, like Hitmonchan. It also can't utilize the elemental punches just like Hitmonchan. It's not just its special stat that sucks though, it pretty much has nothing going for it. It's fast, I guess? Fat lot of good all that speed will do when it can't take any hits or dish any back. To get back to that speed though, it being so ridiculously high carves it one very, very small niche. It relates to one of its starting moves, Guillotine, a move that has low accuracy but if it hits, automatically feints the target. Something the game doesn't tell you about OHKO moves though is its relation to the speed stat. If your speed is lower than the target's, these OHKO moves will never work. With Pokemon T having such high speed, we never really have to worry about that. So does that mean Pokemon T is some sort of weird Hail Mary tech option and nothing else? No. Yes. Okay, we're beginning to reach the end here. I've shown off some pretty cool stuff, but there's still one more huge glitch that I've been saving until now. It's probably the most complex glitch done, not just in this part, but maybe the entire LP. You'll see why I believe this soon. The glitch I'm going to be performing is called the International Doko Kashira Door Glitch. Doko Kashira translates from Japanese to English roughly as, I wonder where that is. This is theorized to be a reference about this glitch warping the player around, but it seems no one knows the reasoning behind this name's origin. What's funny about this glitch is that the original version of it got patched out in localization, or rather, the method for obtaining it was patched out. That's important wording, because through some very strange means, this glitch can still be used, hence the name International Doko Kashira Door Glitch. To use an analogy, this is sorta like if Nintendo locked the front door to Pokemon Blue's house, but left the third story window cracked open a smidge, thinking no one would be able to make it up there. Unfortunately, this Pokemon thing got kinda big after these games and put a lot of attention on them, so of course people started to grab their ladders and climb. There are several ways to activate the International Doko Kashira Door Glitch, one of which requires the use of the TheZZAZZGlitch. Nothing against the guy, he did help me with the problem I had recreating one of Met's glitches before, but every time I tried to use the TheZZAZZGlitch to my benefit it never worked. So excuse me if I'm not jumping at the opportunity with this one. Another requires literally editing the hex code of the game, which is probably the most brute force of the options. Definitely more of a last resort that I don't want to use if I don't have to. There is one more method, but it involves playing with fire. I don't really want to, but if it's the best choice to show this bug off, then so be it. We're going to give one of our Pokemon the Super Glitch move, specifically its fourth move slot will be the Super Glitch move. As for the other three moves, we need attacks that tally to a character total of 27. No, I'm not joking, this needs to be done. For this experiment, I've swapped Pokemon T's moves around with Fire Punch, Guillotine, and Payday at the top. Now that our Pokemon is ready, we just need to grab an escape rope, then we're off to the Diglett Caves. Once we enter there, we get into a battle with one of the Pokemon. Any will do. Now, in the battle, choose the fight option, and then press B to escape it. Repeat this several times and then escape the battle. Once you do this, one of two things will happen. Either you'll return to the Diglett Cave, or have been teleported to a glitch city. If it's the latter, reset the game and try again. I've had this happen to me multiple times. It sucks, but that's the nature of these super glitch moves. Now, if you're back in the Diglett Cave, pause the game and go to the save option. If the menu starts freaking out a little, then good, you're on the right track. Now exit the save screen, go to your bag, and use that escape rope. Congrats! The International Doko Kashira door glitch is now active. Told you it was complex. So now the question becomes, what does this glitch do? While it isn't as flashy as its Japanese counterpart, what with warping around the map, it's certainly not boring. It's remix time again. Tracks with these hex values will get corrupted in some way after 4 steps are taken. That's not the only thing that changes every 4 steps either. The map also has a little makeover in 4-step intervals. In addition, every once in a while a Pokemon will appear to faint as if they're poisoned. Our Pokemon wasn't spared from this challenge either. Trying to enter the Pokemon screen softlocks the game, but seeing what we send out into battle shows that at the very least, Pokemon T is not with us anymore. This is some kind of strange Ivysaur clone. At least I think it sounds like something from the Bulbasaur line? Blocky? Taking a stroll around Kanto shows a lot of the trainer sprites have changed. Like this route with nothing but Derpities. What would happen if we were to try and battle a trainer with this glitch though? To be honest, I wasn't going to try and find out, but I ended up trying to grab this item only for it to actually be a trainer. Happy accidents, I guess. You know, there's probably some sort of complex metaphor you can make about this trainer battle being an examination into my psyche after messing with these glitches for so long, resulting in me becoming the biggest glitch of them all, stare into the abyss and whatnot. The issue here is I'd rather never resort to Nietzsche than apply it to a trainer that has a half-dead Pidgeotto. I know Lavender Town is low-hanging fruit, but you gotta admit this mashup is nightmare fuel. You can definitely hear Cinnabar for a while, but it's not long until the game just throws its hands up and starts completely shitting itself. This is actually beginning to get on my nerves a little, so let's check out the rock tunnel. After only a few steps in the cave and the graphics follow the Lavender Town music by example and give up, this seemed to result in a game crash of some sort. Unsure why, but why does anything happen in this game, am I right, gamers? I think we've seen an ample amount of what this glitch has to offer us. Let's reset this world to normal and grab the final Pokemon. It's waiting for us at the bottom of Cerulean Cave. Catching Mewtwo used to be the only post-game content Pokemon Red and Blue offered us back in the day, but look at all the stuff we've managed to do leading up to this guy with the power of glitches. Speaking of the power of glitches, it's funny that a lot of them are touted as Pokegods when most would get stomped by Mewtwo effortlessly. There's an argument to be made that Mewtwo in Generation 1 is the strongest Pokemon in the series, and it's hard to argue against that. I mean, we all know how strong Psychic is in these games and whatnot. Fuck! I forgot to use repels again. A scientist is probably the most fitting NPC we could have gotten for one of these glitch encounters. Mewtwo was made in a lab after all. Unlike all the other glitch Pokemon, which were given nicknames based on the characters in their names, there's not a lot to go off with this guy. Blocky 2 could work, since he's got 2 of them instead of 1, but I feel uncomfortable even uttering that name. If you'll forgive the abstractness, I decided to go with has some incredibly polarizing stats. Its special stat is just 1 point below the absolute maximum of 255. It dwarfs the speed stat when Pokemon to this day would kill for a base 121 speed. And there's the rest of its stats, and it's, concerning. Very concerning. A light breeze would wipe this thing from existence itself. Its pathetic HP means it can't even take special hits. Honestly though, that doesn't bother me much. This thing is the idea of a glass cannon taken to its greatest extreme. Personally, I'm a fan. The only problem is that with this glitch, that makes our team full. If I want the upcoming Glitchmon, then I'm going to have to make space. I think it's clear who's going. Golbat has been on my bad side ever since it joined the team. Can't believe this thing can't learn fly, that's insane! Derpity himself is the gatekeeper to the final Pokegod of Let's Horribly Break Pokemon Blue. Its names are glitching out as usual, but it's colloquially known as this katakana symbol. It's apparently the Japanese equivalent to U, so I'm going to be calling it U. You might think that's a stupid name, but you're not going to be saying things like that once we get to this sucker's glitch dex entry. Yes, fucking fear this thing. With a base stat total of 699, U plays second place only to 94 in raw power. But that lead is only by 16 points, and U doesn't softlock your game against certain Pokemon. This thing fits right at home taking Mewtwo's place on our little journey. Its level up moves are somewhat underwhelming, but it can learn great TMs like Earthquake, Psychic, Ice Beam, Thunder. We dreamed of finding the world's strongest glitch Pokemon. And we succeeded. I hope you didn't think that was everything, because we still have one more thing we need to do before I can bring this game out to pasture. I didn't assemble this team of Ubermenches and Pokemon T for no reason. We have to make our mark on this game by defeating the Elite Four and our rival to get these Pokemon inducted into the Hall of Fame. With killing machines like these, it shouldn't be that hard. Before we humiliate Lance for the second time, let's do one small glitch to finish this whole adventure off. As soon as we're spat into Lance's chambers, take one step to the right and hit start at the same time. Save and reset the game. Once you reload your save, get on your surfer, and... They really should have taken another look at these statues, man. Thanks to this oversight though, we can actually explore this little section that we would normally be forced to move through. There's not much to see, but if you leave from where you came from, you can go back to Agatha's chambers. I don't really know why I'm somewhat surprised by this. I guess I just expected this entrance to be a one-way street. Re-entering Lance's chambers will have the original event play out as normal, except the doors that close when you enter the main chamber are already closed. Good thing the game lets you walk right through them, and that's it. That's the last glitch. All that's left is to beat Lance. All that's left is to beat Derpity, and then we're home free. I'd like to thank all you guys for supporting the series for so long. If it wasn't for people like you, then I think I would have given up a long time ago. What the fuck? Now that I think about it, what better way to put a bow on things than with a battle against the only opponent who could pose a threat to a team like mine? Let's do this. The fight begins, and Met fittingly leads off with H-Pokey, one of the first glitches he ever caught. My own easily outspeeds, and I try to go for a Wrap Lock. Unfortunately, H-Pokey is part Ghost type, which I actually forgot. Thankfully, the Wrap immobilizes H-Pokey anyway. God, Wrap was so overpowered. An Aurora Beam does a decent chunk, but wasn't as devastating as I had hoped. Confuse Ray has the chance to screw me over, but clutches the first kill after losing more than half its HP from a Nightshade. Met attempts to use point 4 to finish me off, but I get an incredibly crippling Fire Punch in before it can even attack. I think point 4's only attack that isn't a TM is Surf, and with its pathetic special stat, it's no shocker that it does almost 0 damage to me. Fearing another KO, Met switches out for GMP. Met, you fucking cheater, the thing's more than double my level! My Fire Punch barely makes a dent, so I swap for Aurora Beam, which ends up being super effective, which is great, don't get me wrong, but it still isn't doing the damage I was hoping for. Met seems to be fucking with me as he decides to poison instead of outright finishing me off. Next turn ends up being his last, as a quick attack puts it to bed. After some deliberation, I decide to send out Pokemon T. My strategy is to attempt to OHKO this thing with a Guillotine. Unfortunately, despite GMP having pretty mediocre speed compared to Pokemon T, it doesn't matter when there's a level gap of 115. GMP has a slicing attack of its own, and Pokemon T heads to the grave with no kills under its belt. I decide to stop fucking around and send out 94. Despite taking a while to come out of its ball, it doesn't crash the game, which I'm grateful for. A fly does a pathetic amount of damage, so I decide to do something a little cheesy and just spam Flash to lower this thing's accuracy as much as I possibly can. GMP pelts 94 with hit after hit, and it can't take much more before giving up the ghost. At this point, I'm definitely sweating. If you've seen that part in the Pokemon anime where Ash has to fight the guy with a Latios and Darkrai, that's what this feels like. Ooh is my last ringer, so I send it out next. I try to roll the dice on a glare and come up with Snake Eyes. Frustrated, I attempt to land a Thunder and thankfully it connects. Super effective even. But it's still not enough. GMP wails on Ooh plenty more before another Thunder lands, finally finishing off the beast. Point 4 is then sacked after, which makes this battle look a little more even. A is sent out next. A is Met's equivalent to my Pokemon T, a Pokemon with middling stats outside of a tremendous speed that has access to Guillotine. The difference is, A's Guillotine lands, killing Ooh instantly. A's appearance being that of a Rhydon, I figured it was fitting to send out my own dinosaur next. Nidoking does a respectable amount of damage with Surf, but is taken too soon from another Guillotine. My final Pokemon is the first Pokemon we caught for Aftermath, A Longname versus A. A attempts to use a TM move, which gives me an opening to create a substitute. I'm able to finish A off easily. Next, Met sends out the flagship glitch Pokemon Missing No. Much like Pikachu though, just because it's a mascot of sorts doesn't mean it belongs in battle. One strength later and it's finished. That just leaves one more Pokemon on each side. Met's final Pokemon is of course, Mew. Mew is just about great at everything, so this won't be easy. I predict Mew will be able to destroy my substitute, so I build another. But all this does is buy me a small amount of time. I begin getting to work chipping away at its health. Strength does a disappointing amount of damage, but I'm afraid of relying on Fire Blast and its flaky accuracy. I manage to score a lucky crit that leaves victory in my reach, but at the same time my substitute is finally broken. Instead of setting up another, I decide to go for it and use Strength. If this misses, then there's a very good chance Mew OHKOs A Longname with a Thunderbolt. We've done it. By the skin of our teeth, but we did it nonetheless. That's right. It's time to move on. Truth be told, I could probably continue this until the heat death of the universe. Pokemon Red and Blue are such fascinating games when looked under a microscope like this. Even several hours of video footage like this series can only begin to scratch the surface of what's underneath. I think I'm going to put up my hat. and leave this game to the ones who actually know what they're talking about, like Met before me. I'd like to thank everyone who had a hand in this series existing. Last time there was a thank you, it got cut off, so let me make it right this time. Thank you to Skippa for creating the Aftermath logo, it fits like a glove. Uglypatch, your thumbnail artwork is incredible. Fucking commission these guys, people. Thank you, AJ, for the Game Boy Mario 64 menu theme. I hope you guys got as much of a kick out of that as I did. As for the credits outside of Aftermath, I'd like to thank Null, Nate, and Simon for lending their voices to Something Awful Goons from the original LP. I figured it'd be conveyed better if another person voiced those roles, and I'm grateful for that. The glitchcity.info website alongside Bulbapedia were absolutely invaluable in not just recreating glitches from the original LP, but also finding new interesting glitches to showcase. Two users of Glitch City I'd like to thank in particular are TheZZAZZGlitch and ChickasaurusGL. I talked about them earlier, but it really can't be understated. These two are real experts of the game. I'm just the messenger. They have unprecedented amounts of content about the glitches in this game, so check them out. Of course, I'd like to thank you all for watching, but I want to give the final thanks to Metroixer for not just allowing me to adapt his work, but humoring me along the way and even agreeing to an interview. Met's gone off to bigger and better things, such as his own indie game that he released a few months ago. If you liked the writing of Let's Horribly Break Pokemon Blue, then you have to check out Help. The link to it is in the description. And I think that's it. Boy, hope I didn't forget anybody.